Well, hello, this is Kevin Doheny, and I'm just back from the Creative Hearts Retreat up in McConnor there. And I apologize again for the technical problems, or whatever it was which prevented my presentation from reaching you all on Saturday when I gave that. And so, as I promised, I would get that to you. And what I decided was that it wouldn't take all that much more effort to go through that in a video format, along with the slides and the animation and all that, rather than just recording an MP3 of description of what I said there. So what I'll do is I'll go through that with you, and if you have any questions, of course, feel free to email me. But I think it's all pretty good. So let's get through that right now. So here's what we're going to be talking about today. As children of the Creator, it is our nature to be creative. Just as the universe was created from a central point, real creation comes from the heart. Join us as we clear the path, activating knowing, and then move into being the Creator in our lives. In consciously creating from the heart, we live in harmony with our nature and create the new earth. Now, that's a statement that I wrote, and the rest of the team tweaked a bit there. And that really sums up what I'm going to be talking about here today. Now, at the beginning of my talks, I always ask what the day is. And people give various answers about that. But what I do is I'm a follower of the Mayan Zolkin calendar. And it really gives some meaning to the day as opposed to it just being Saturday. So on the day that I gave this talk at the retreat there, it was a 3 Eagles Day, and 3 is about action. 3 is the basic movement and communication which begins as a vibration. 3 energy is very eloquent in all types of self-expression. Communication is how 3 establishes a point of agreement between any point A and B. And if you were born on a 3 day, 3 persons are rhythmic to the core and often restless, as motion is their nature. And that's paired up. There are 13, by the way, 13 of those tones on the left, and then there are 20 sun signs. That gives a calendar of 260 days. And of course, the Mayans knew that it takes longer than that for the planet to go around the sun, but that wasn't what this calendar was about. This calendar was about the energy and intention of the day. And so the 3 is paired up with the sun sign of eagles, and that being the intermediary between heaven and earth. Due to the eagle's superior point of view and keen intelligence, they achieve material abundance and good fortune. A messenger gifted with patience and a deep sense of value, eagle brings hope and trust on the wings of spirit. Eagle persons are very detail-oriented and technically inclined. Their compassionate service to others sustains prosperity for eagle persons, as the flapping of wings would sustain their bird brothers. So I found that very interesting that that particular energy was present as we were entering into our creation day on Saturday. It seemed like a very good energy to do creation and all that was about. Now, gotta warn you, when I give talks, I use the Socratic method. And so what that means is that I ask a lot of questions. Socrates said that you don't need to search for the truth outside, but find it inside. I don't think I was Socrates in a past life, but I find this method very useful because I like people to find their own answers to questions before I give you my take on the answers to the questions that I'm posing. So, but don't worry, I will indeed answer all the questions that I put forth, unlike perhaps Socrates, who didn't answer the questions, but I will give you my take on things. So first thing we need to clear up, because we got all this talk and the New Age stuff and all that, is about this thing called manifesting. And here we're talking about creating. So what is the difference between manifesting and creating? So think about that for a minute. What is manifesting? Well, what I would say manifesting is manifesting is aligning your experience with something which already exists. So, let's say I want a new sports car, a nice new red sports car. I am not going to go and create the sports car. The sports car already has been designed and built by somebody else. I just need to align my experience with that red sports car. So manifesting, so if you need a bunch of money, whatever it is, the money already exists, you're just aligning yourself with that. Creating is different. Creating is bringing into this experience that which did not previously exist here. Now, of course, it likely existed somewhere in the consciousness of the universe, but it didn't exist here on this planet. So that's what we're doing here with the creating, and it's different from manifesting. And here's another thing that we talk a lot about, is raising consciousness. And so what in the world are we talking about by raising consciousness? Think about that one for a minute. Well, no doubt you could get a lot of various answers on what raising consciousness is all about, but here's again my take on it. And if we look at this little grid on the screen here, we've got two axes here. We've got the x-axis, which is representing time, and then we've got the y-axis over here, which is representing intensity. And so this is very much like an oscilloscope that us techies use when we're troubleshooting electronic circuits and studying waveforms. And so here's a little graph of a modulation. And so what happens here on this red line down here, so as we're increasing this one, the frequency up on the green speeds up. But what I want to call your attention to here is not so much about the modulation effect here, but what I want to call your attention to is how much green is covering the screen. So as we start out, we got this kind of a slow, lazy wave, just kind of going up and down. And it's not covering a whole lot of real estate on the screen. And then as we increase that frequency, and it's going up and down and up and down and up and down much faster in the same amount of time, we get a whole lot more green covering the screen. And then it slows back down again. And so on the other axis here, if we expand this upward to the very top and even off the screen and down below the screen and so forth, so that the entire screen would be a solid green. That would be a very high frequency and a very high strength or amplitude of frequency. And that's really what we're talking about here by raising consciousness, is we are talking about tapping into a very high frequency or aligning ourselves with that. And what happens when you get this thing entirely filled with green is you're approaching God consciousness, where everything is possible. All we have to do is align ourselves with that possibility. So how do we do that? Well, here's a very important concept here. And so I always tell people, if they remember nothing else about things I talk about, here is a very, very important one to talk about. You also hear this term, oh, I really resonated with that, or that resonates with me, or whatever. Okay, what do we mean by that? Well, resonance or resonant frequency is an object's natural vibratory rate. So in other words, let's say I had a bell here and I rang the bell. The bell sounds at its natural vibratory rate. The bell can't decide, I think I'm going to sound an octave higher or lower today, or any of that stuff. The bell can only sound at its natural vibratory rate. Now, we, on the other hand, we have free choice as well as consciousness. And consciousness is a very powerful effect on an object's natural vibratory rate. In fact, they've even demonstrated now how observing an experiment, a very sensitive experiment, could actually change the outcome of the experiment just by a person observing it and what their consciousness is in relation to the experiment. So we have a choice. We can affect and change our natural vibratory rate. But what we need to do is just like a radio station being tuned in. You know, a radio station and a radio receiver, the station is broadcasting on a particular frequency. The receiver can adjust to any one of those frequencies and listen to the station it wants to. So what we have to do, our challenge here, is to align our resonant frequency with what it is that we want to create. Here's a model which seems to work well. I look for models that seem to describe things and the way they work accurately and all that. And so here's something from the Institute of Thought, and it's about how thought works. Now we think that thoughts are our own, but they're really not. We intercept thoughts, we process thoughts, and we put thoughts back out into the world. So down here below you see used mass thought going into this thing called the body brain right down here, and they may travel upward through spinal column up to this P brain up here in your head, and then back down to the body brain, and then get re-emitted into the world as used thought. And it may be changed by your processing. So let's say that let's say I'm watching the news some night, which I try to avoid, but let's say the news is on, and they got some story about something really bad happening, as they often have on the news. And so I take in that thought that they're feeding me, and I go, oh, wow, that dirty, rotten person did this thing, and so on and so forth, and I amplify that thought, and then I put it back out into the world even stronger. This does the world absolutely no good. And so when I do tune into things like that, then I have to be mindful of my thoughts and make sure that I am not putting that thought back out into the world in an even worse shape, and putting more hate or anything like that out into the world. Now, up at the top here, up at the crown chakra here, this used to work. This way a long time ago in the human being, we used to receive pure thought. Not all these thought fragments down here are coming in, but we used to receive pure thought through our crown chakra. And because we've not used that for so long, for the purpose it was intended for, it really doesn't really function anymore, and we can't get that pure thought in there. Now, people who are used to meditating and really developing that, they may rekindle that. They may be able to get that going again. But pure thought is different. It doesn't have all these little thought fragments which I'm exchanging with you right now, and and it just has these whole thoughts, and that would come in right there. Now, what I've found in my sound work is that there is another way. Rather than all the thought fragments down below or the pure thought, trying to get that into somebody up above, is that I can use sound. And sound is a carrier wave for consciousness, but it has to be the right sound to convey the consciousness. And so if I create the right sound for the consciousness I wish to convey, then I can communicate that whole thought, that pure thought, to the person who's listening to the sound. So that's a cool way that I found to get around this problem. Now here's like Da Vinci's man here, and it's overlaid with a whole bunch of lines. You see like a Star of David, the six-pointed star there, which is also Merkaba. You see some other shapes there, but they all meet in this one particular place. And of course, if you've been listening to the retreat, you've heard a lot of talk about the heart. Well, what's the heart? When I talk about the heart, I'm not talking about this organ which is circulating blood through our bodies. And that's not the way the ancients defined the heart either. You see, there's a problem with terminology here. The heart can also mean the core, the center. And that's the way I refer to the heart. And here is it showing the center or the heart on this diagram here, and it's kind of right up just a bit above the belly button there, pretty darn close, but right around the belly button area, kind of around the sacral chakra there, or some people refer to it as the dantian. And that's also the location of that body brain you saw in the previous slide. And here's another book which I came across, which also is talking about this second brain and this force area of our body down there. So it's not just me that's making all this stuff up here. Other people are talking about this stuff too. And so really, when you're meditating and when you're trying to get into a creative aspect or whatever, try shifting your consciousness down out of your head, down to this central area of your body, and see if that doesn't work better. I think it will. Now here's a really cool thing that I came up with, and I've seen this represented in various ways. And this is what I call my realization power pyramid on how things get from a concept down into reality, which of course is very handy for aspects of creation. So up here at the very top, we've got this spirit or higher self. Now this is where something really isn't even present in our 3D reality yet. It's just kind of the seed of an idea. And if you look at the Great Pyramid of Giza, the very top piece is missing. And so, just indicating that although energetically it's there, but physically it's not. And so this is where something is just in the higher self, some concept we're not even aware of. And then when we do bring something down into our mind, it becomes 610 times more powerful than it was just in the higher self. This is where all of our affirmations and mental processing is. And once we take it down a step lower than the mind into the emotional area, that becomes 5.7 times more powerful than just thinking about it, when we're really feeling it. And feelings, they're kind of a funny thing, because they're sandwiched right in between our thoughts, which we really can't get a hold of, and the physical world, which we can go take and manipulate something in the physical world. And although a feeling we can feel, we really can't manipulate it. You can't pick up a feeling and move it from point A to point B or any of that stuff. So you can feel it, but you can't really get hold of it. But then the things that we can get hold of are down in the physical world, which is 2.5 times that of the emotional area, or 14.5 times that of the mind. So emotions plus physical are 20.2 times just thinking about it. So it becomes a lot more powerful than just say thinking about it, doing your affirmations and that type of thing. Here's another way of looking at this stuff. The mind is knowing. Now this isn't mental stuff about, oh, I took this class and I know all this information. This is a surety. This is being solid. This is of the heart, of the center. And you're really, you know something. And then there's being. That's that emotional area where you're being what you know. And then there's finally doing. And so often in the world today, people are all about this doing. They're just doing, and doing to have stuff. And then they have to do, to have. And they get caught up in this have-do loop. And they're not being much of anything, let alone knowing who they are. So if you follow this simple formula here of know, then be, and then do, you really can't go wrong. This is very, very important in any type of creation. Now, here where I grayed out, kind of muted the emotional area, is what happens is that people often think about stuff. They're doing their affirmations, they're thinking about all this stuff, and then they start out doing it. They miss the be part. They miss that emotional involvement. And without that emotional involvement, there is a disconnect between the thought and the action. So you really need to feel something. You need to become impassioned and powerful and engaged in it there with your emotional area. But it needs to be a particular emotion. So let's talk about that then. Let me ask you, who are you? Now really think about that one for a minute. Who are you? People give various answers to this. They say, well, I'm a father, a mother, a brother, sister. I'm whatever you do, in your job. You may be a construction worker or whatever. Maybe you like sports. Maybe you're going to say, I'm a golfer. Whatever it is. But who are you? And almost all the answers people give to this question of who are you, it tends to be more of a role. I'm a father, but I didn't start out being a father. And I'm giving this talk right now, so maybe I'm a public speaker, but I didn't start out being a public speaker. And so there's all these roles that we take on. But really, what is the heart of you? Which is apart from all your roles, it's who you are right down at that core of you, the heart of you. Now, this picture here this is called a soul painting. This was done for me by Brenda McCoy back in, looks like 2006 there. And Brenda, I met at a class. It was a regression therapy type class, and Brenda and I were both in the class, and I later asked her to do a soul painting for me. And she does this as guided by angels or whoever guides her to do what to paint on there. And so Brenda hardly knows anything about me, really. But right there in the center, if I can get there it is, there's my pointer. Right there in the center, with that treble clef sign and these little musical notes there, this is your soul symbol. This is who you are, who I am, at the very core. And she represented that by this treble clef thing here, which we kind of think of as being a musical symbol. And so if you were to have your soul painting done, that would say who you are at that core level. But there's other ways to find out about that. And although soul painting is a great thing to have done as well. But that's who you are, and it transcends everything here, everything anyone told you about who you are, anything else. It's who you were before you were ever born. And kids, before they get all programmed with the expectations of mom and dad saying, well, everyone in the family's been a doctor, you're going to be a doctor too, or whatever the case may be, there were times when you really felt your passion. And no matter how tough your childhood may have been, there was a time in your childhood, at least once, when you felt a particular emotion of when you were doing your passion, when you were really doing something you loved to do. The time would just fly by. If we were out doing this, the day would be gone before you know it, and mom's calling you home for dinner. And it felt a particular way. For me, this happened in many occasions in my life. It would happen, let's say, when I was in church, and I kind of peeked over to look at the organ, because there was a way to produce all kinds of different sounds. The piano never interested me much; it only makes one sound. But the organ, that was something really cool, because I could change all kinds of sound there. Synthesizers, they were just barely being invented when I was young there, so certainly I didn't know anything about them. But the organ was a way that I could change sound. And another time was like when I'd be seeing like audio-visual equipment and reel-to-reel tape recorders and movie projectors and any of that type of stuff. And I love to figure out how stuff worked, take it apart and figure out how something did whatever it did. Hopefully I could put it back together after I took it apart. And those moments always produced a particular feeling inside of me. And so it probably was in your life as well. Now, are we going to do that exact same thing right now? Oh, probably not. Things change, But that emotion doesn't change. And so what we need to ask ourselves is, if I could do something right now in my life, what would I do? Who would I be to recreate that feeling which was in resonance with my heart, my center? And so that's what we're going to do here. Now, I'm going to lead you through a little guided experience here where I'm going to play and guide you with my voice as well. And in that experience, here's a little chart here of brainwave frequencies. Now, right now, we're probably all up in this beta area with 13 to 25 cycles per second, concentration and learning, possibly even excitement if you're really pumped about what I'm saying here. But for what we're going to do, I want you down kind of in this high alpha area, right around 12 hertz right here, which is relaxation and light meditation, not deep meditation, like with Cleo's stuff and her soul talk and all, but just this light meditation. I want you physically present in your body. I want you aware of your body and the experience that you're going through. So don't drift down into sleep or any of that. Be physically present and aware with your body, just being relaxed. That'll be a really good place for you to be to do what we're going to do. And so here's kind of a stairway image here, which you can focus on as we start into to the experience here. All right then. I'd like you to get comfortable and focus on the stairway there. Close your eyes. Get kind of tired from staring at the image of the stairway. Let your eyes gently close. Let your eyes close. Just relax. And feel your feet. I'd like you to extend roots going down from your feet. Allow the roots to go through the floor, through all the layers of rock and sand and soil, water, more rock, all the way down to the center of the plant. Anchor the roots in place and allow that energy of the planet to flow up through the roots. Flowing up through your feet, relaxing your feet, into your legs. If you're not sure of the difference between tensed and relaxed, you could tense up an area of your body and then relax it. So you can feel the difference between tensed and relaxed. Allowing the relaxing energy to flow up further now and into your hips, up through your torso, up through your chest, remaining fully present with your body. Traveling down your arms all the way to your fingertips. Continues to travel up further. All the way to the top of your head. Allowing your body to enjoy this nice, relaxing sensation. Just relax. And I'd like you to picture or imagine you're standing at the top of a stairway, looking down. It's a brightly lit stairway. And if you look down, you'll see there are 20 stairs going down. The stairway goes down into the unconscious, to the inner world, the core. As you feel your feet, I'd like you to take the first step downward. The step is 20. Stepping down now to 19. 18. 17. Each step leaving the 3D world behind. 16. Feeling your feet. 15. 14. 13. 12. 11. 10. 9. 8. Each step leaving the 3D world behind. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. You're now at the bottom of the 20 stairs. Looking down to your right, you'll see a bowl. That bowl contains 9 keys. I'd like you to place your left hand on your center. Feel your resonance, your core vibration. Feeling that, extend your right hand over the bowl with the keys. One of the keys rises up to your hand. The other keys fade from view. As you examine the key, you'll notice a number on the key. There's a number between 1 and 9 on the key. If you look in front of you, you'll notice a stairway which has 9 steps. You proceed up those steps corresponding to the number on your key. So if you had a 2, you would proceed up 2 steps. If you had 9, you would proceed up 9 steps. As you proceed up to the step corresponding to your key, on your right you will find a door. You insert your key into the door and open it. Beyond the door is a room or a place of your choosing. This room has a great resonance with who you are. It's a beautiful place. Everything that you need to be creative is here in this room. Whatever supplies you need, it may have instruments. It may have tools. It may be a place in nature or in a building. And there may be others there who are assisting you in your creations. These may be masters who are assigned to you to help you with a particular field which is their specialty. But this room creates within you that feeling that you had when you were young. That feeling when you spent a lot of time being creative. Enjoy this place now. Explore it. Feel it deep within you. turning back towards the door, but anchoring in this emotion. You leave the door, closing it behind you. You proceed down the stairs. When you reach the bottom, you create there a grounding experience for yourself. Perhaps there's some trees. Might even be a stream or some water there. Create this grounding experience for yourself. You feel your connection to the earth. As you continue to ground there, you know that you are now on your way to creating not only things, but the life you want. Imagine yourself doing everything you love to do every day of your life. What a wonderful feeling this is. You deserve this life. It's like there's a new you beginning to emerge, a new you in control of your own responses and actions, a new you looking and feeling better than ever before. Yes, there is a new you taking place here and now. Many times people said to me, you use that term a lot, the new you. What do you mean by that? Well, there is a new you, and it's starting today. It's like having a second chance. You can actually think of it as starting over, starting fresh. When you first came into the world, you came in free of all negative thoughts and habits. Over the years, we've all created many habits, some of which are positive, some which we may call negative. Today there is a new you starting over. You're keeping all the positive qualities, but you're releasing all the negative. So it is easy to see there is that new you starting here and now. Towards the stairway of 20 stairs, and you begin to ascend with number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Taking a deep breath on 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, picking up energy as you go up the stairs, taking a deep breath again on 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 with another deep breath, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, returning back to the world with the secure knowledge of everything you have experienced.
Naturally, I grew up in the late 60s watching Star Trek as a little kid. And I don't know if you guys remember this episode or not. In case you don't, or never watched them or whatever, I'll remind you there. Our guys from the Enterprise there, they beamed down to this planet and they saw this old-time Western town there. And one of them ends up getting killed because he was messed around with somebody's girlfriend there. And they discover that everything about this place is an illusion. There's nothing real there. Everything is in their minds. And that the guy who died because he believed the bullet was real and would kill him when he got shot. And so on Mr. Spock there on the right, he said, I know that these bullets are not real. Therefore, they won't hurt me when we have this gunfight at the OK Corral there. And the doctor said, well, that's fine for you, but what about the rest of us? Because even the least little bit of doubt will be enough to kill us, because it looks real. And so Spock does his mind meld thing on him there, so that they're as sure as he is that this is all an illusion. That's this place of knowing, where we know, where there is no doubt. This has been a slide that I've been using for at least a couple years now in my talks. It says, it's not about reaching those on the other side and getting them over. It's about helping those who are over start living in this new world while dealing with the annoyances from the other side of the chasm. And then the universe delivered a new message a couple days ago. The bridge is down. I don't know why my phone does that. It just likes to. And the microphone thing picks it up. We mentioned this the other day. But it's interesting. Up here, we're up in creating 5D up here. And down, there is 3D. And the bridge is out. That bridge has been there a long time. It could have gone down next week. It could have gone down weeks prior to this. No. It went down about a half an hour into our event. Pretty clear message. You can go back to the 3D world. You're not going to take the freeway anymore. You're going to have to go some other way if you want to go back. But I would consider adopting a mental structure that there is no going back. Consider that there is no way back. Not saying don't ever travel down to Seattle again. I'm just saying for here on out, because I've heard concerns about we got to deal with the 3D. Well, it's going to be increasingly difficult to deal with the 3D now. And it's your choice how much you do deal with it or not. But the universe has given us a very clear message to stay on the other side. Why do we fail?
fail?
We don't know.
We only fail if somebody tells us we failed. And you accept that. Well, so whether it's you telling yourself or somebody else telling yourself, there's no failure here. Because nobody here is going to tell you you failed. Don't tell yourself that either. Therefore, you can only succeed. Robert Schuller, what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? Well, you won't. I can't walk away without this slide, which is probably my favorite. This is a definition of love. Did any of you listen to my gig with Cornelia and Marianne on the Juice Bar Radio? Yeah. Well, if you missed it, it's out on YouTube. It was on, we did February 15th, we talked about love. And I would highly recommend you go and listen to that. It's my part starts about, 40 minutes into the thing or something. And I talk for about a half an hour about how the whole universe is designed as an experience in love. It's pretty cool. I highly recommend you listen to that. But this is the definition of love, and you've heard the term love at least 100 or more times in the course of the last few days. And, we got some fuzzy idea of what love is. But this is a definition that was given to me in a meditation when I had to talk about love on Valentine's Day, I think back in 2007. And love is the highest state of consciousness, whereupon one being, recognizing the intrinsic wonder, majesty, and beauty of another living thing, sets an intention that the other living thing continue to grow, flourish, and develop to the maximum extent that it's capable of. In setting that field of intention, we create this field of attraction which draws to us those who hold us in that state of consciousness as well. This is what everything is about. And love is the power in the universe. It's not just a feeling, it is a power. When this intellectual, emotional, high vibrational energy is employed between two beings of higher consciousness, it will have limitless potential, including healing, changing DNA, which has been scientifically proven now, changing consciousness, and recreating that which we call reality around us. Wow. Just out of curiosity, my own curiosity, when that key floated up into your hand, what numbers did you have? Who had number one? Anybody have number one?
High five.
4, 7, 3,
9.
8.
Cool.
I started out with my immediate one was 1, and then into it, I changed to 3 because it felt right.
Okay.
It's funny, I had a similar experience, but I was like, oh, anytime somebody asks me to pick a number between 1 and 9, I would choose 7. That was my number. And it's really interesting. So I was like, oh, 7. I was like, no, it's 5. I've never chosen 5 for some reason.
I did something similar to that where I saw 8 instantly, but I went, oh, but my birth force is 7. So that was no.
I had something similar with 3. I thought it was 3, and then I was like, no, it's not 3. It's 7.
Wow. Is there meaning?
Oh, yes.
And we're sitting next to each other.
I practiced sitting outside.
Hmm?
Saw the number 7.
What's what?
Are you going to tell us?
If
Talk like graciously on the numbers, or is that what what there isn't, right?
no, I was doing something special there,
Okay.
and it ties into nothing that you probably have any knowledge of at this point. Remind me tomorrow if you're still curious, tomorrow morning or something, and I'll
Dinner tonight, maybe?
I'm curious now.
well,
How about at dinner? How about at dinner?
huh?
How about at dinner?
Okay, but I still have to repeat it for the virtual folks.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I don't want to go into it right now.
Okay, you can repeat yourself.
Yes, I often do, yes. Hopefully it comes out the same or better. But yeah, that concludes my remarks, and so now I get to do, my second most favorite thing, because what I was just doing was my most favorite thing. My second most favorite thing is I get to turn things over to Cornelia, and she is going to further build on what I have just done.